Howdy, me fellow Bart here, and welcome. Alright, so what we're gonna be doing here, let everything get caught up. Gonna be creating some dynamic or variable weapons pickups. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the cabinet here, we have the standard Grok 9mm. We have it with a flashlight, we have it with the scope, we have it with the silencer, and we move to the next cabinet, and we have it with the silencer and the scope. We have silencer and flashlight, silencer, flashlight, and scope, and just silencer and scope. Now these are, as the thing says right there, manual. These are manually selected, and this is going to be part one of a two-part video on this because I didn't finish getting the other part finished. So show you how to create this step by step on a different weapon so that it will be the same thing. So being that this is manual, you can actually choose individually, and I'll show that in just a minute, of what actually is on the weapon whenever it's spawned into the world. You place it into the world wherever you want it to go, and then you select the options you want on there. If you want it to be plain, you want it to have a flashlight only, and in a different part will actually make the flashlight usable. Have the scope or whatever attachments you want to put on there. So that's cool. And then you have random. So when it's placed into the world, it'll automatically generate a random assortment of attachments. This one here just has the silencer only. This one has scope only. Has all three items. This has just scope and silencer. Flashlight only, silencer and scope, silencer and flashlight only. Now these are completely random. So if I stop and restart, they will be completely different. They randomly select what they have on each one. And it's a lot easier for this part of it than it would seem. So let's get into it. So what I've got here, and I'll show you briefly these two blueprints. We have the manual and we have the random. It's two separate blueprints. And once you place the manual into the world, see they have everything showing on them right there, but you have the ability to check the three boxes. Does it have a silencer, scope, and light? All three items. This one has none. This one has just the light. This one has just the scope. This one has just the silencer, and so on. You get the picture. You can select, once you drop it into the world, just a matter of grab one, throw it in the world, say, okay, I want the silencer and flashlight only. Hit play, and it has the silencer and flashlight only. So, nice and easy. Now, on this one right here, it has those options, but it's also picked randomly. And I actually need to go back into that blueprint and undo that. It's not necessary. Alright, so let's make sure everything is saved. And basically what it is when you drop it into the world, we're going to run off of event begin play. It's going to check, does it have silencer, light, and scope. And these are just custom events, and the custom event saying has silencer. You can drag it over here and make it easier to see. And it's asking, does it have the silencer? If the answer is yes, then set the visibility on here. And what I have done is add in the weapon with all parts on there. It doesn't matter if they're visible or not, because it's going to be triggered once we actually do the event begin play. So you have the silencer, the light, the scope, and the pistol itself. And this is off of the static mesh version. And the actual pickup that you actually equip is actually going to use the skeletal meshes. So this is separate from the actual skeletal mesh. Really, if you've got the option available, and the Cinti Studios, they include the static meshes and the skeletal meshes. So if you have the option, use the static meshes in the items you place into the world, and then when you're equipping them to a character, then use the the actual skeletal meshes. So we've also added in a box collision that'll be covered in part 2 for the actual pickup of the item. But that's all we're doing is we're checking to see if we have it, and we're setting the visibility. So let's go ahead and save that, close that, and let's get started on a new one. And honestly, it doesn't matter which one I choose, but let's go ahead and do a rifle just to be different because we already have a pistol here. So let's go to weapons, and let's use the M4. In this case, it's called the SWAT rifle, or rifle SWAT. And if you look at the model here, it'll be a little bit more complicated because we're going to have a rail on top, and if it does not have a scope, then it's going to have the rail. So that'll just kind of throw another little trick into it that we can improvise with. So let's go ahead and create the blueprint. I'm going to use the pickups folder that I have created, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new blueprint, actor, and we're going to call this our manual underscore M4 underscore PU, so that I know this is my pickup item. And we'll just go back over here and select from weapons the rifle SWAT. We'll go ahead and add component, static mesh, and just call this rifle. Now we're going to move it around a little bit once we get it situated, and since this is different from the actual skeletal mesh, it doesn't have sockets or anything else. We'll do that on the other part. The actual equipable item will be totally different, but I'll show how to do that in this video and then cover it in part 2 as well. So we'll save that, and then we have rifle selected. Let's go back over here. We want the carry handle. So this is the M4 rail, and I'll go ahead and attach component. We're going to call this rail. And I'm going to go ahead and change my camera speed down, and I'm just going to manually align this. Change this to snapping of 1 for now. It should be aligned pretty good. You know, that's going to be good enough for here. So next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and select rifle again, compile and save, and I'm going to go ahead and select the scope. In this case, it's going to be the red dot optic. We're not going to use a conventional scope. That would be for a sniper. So we're going to use this for a short range red dot. Add component, scope, and for now, we can actually take the rail, uncheck visible, so that we can actually position our scope where we want it. Now we could do both, and if you know anything about weapons, and I kind of do, a little bit, is red dot optic does not have any magnification to it, so it could be up here and work just fine, but we're going to put it back here for aesthetics. And compile and save, select back on rifle again, and let's go ahead and grab the silencer and add component, silencer, cannon. Don't be scared. Now here's where you can do it a couple different ways. If you choose to have this as just normal, attached to the end of your weapon, then do it that way. Say put it here. Not hypercritical on the location. Of course, you might want to get it just right. Another thing you can do is if you want to simulate that it's actually now a shorter barreled rifle with a suppressor on it, you can do it that way. And in fact, for giggles, I'm just going to do it that way. So we're going to assume that it's actually a short barreled rifle with a silencer on it. Then let's hit compile, save, select the rifle one more time, and let's grab the flashlight. And add component and light. change this one to, say, silencer. So the light, you can mount it pretty much anywhere you want. I'm going to do this a little bit differently because we have another accessory we can use on rifles, which is the foregrip. Actually, I'm not going to put the foregrip on. So if we put the rail back visible again, the rail and the scope are both there. It's not going to matter. So we've got our components right here. So what we need to do now is make sure we compile and save. And we can go back into here, create a variable, and say has rail. Let's say has scope. And we'll mess around with that here in just a minute. So we'll hit enter and click on the eyeball. It's going to be closed. We're going to open it up so we can expose that, so we can actually use that, and select it outside. Compile and save, and now we have that variable. We can work with that here in a little bit. We're not going to worry about the rail because that's going to be covered by the scope. So what's going to happen is if we're going to have the scope, we're going to set the visibility of the rail to none or off, and the scope to visible. And just the opposite. If it's no, then it's the other way around. Cover that in just a minute. So with that, we're going to also change the category and call this parts. So we now have a little box we can hide things in. So if we create a new variable here, has silencer. We want to add a question mark on the end because I do, and we'll expose it. Compile and save. There we're good. And change the category now with the drop-down box to parts. Last one is has light question mark enter category parts compost and save. Okay, so now that we have those, let's expose it. I like exposing myself as often as possible. All right, so we do this. Just to kind of show an example right now, let's go ahead and throw, since it's actually functional, we have a few more things to do with it, but let's throw it on the ground and let's take a look at it. So you can see it's standing upright and not flat on the ground, has all the parts visible. So the next thing we need to do is go back into our viewport, select all of these items, rotate, and let's rotate it 90 degrees. And if we hit compost and save, look at it now. Sticking on the ground just a little bit, so let's go ahead and raise it up. We're going to have to move its position just a hair too once we put the box collision in. So let's add a box collision. It's going to be at 0, 0, 0 location, which is fine. And we'll scale it down. And that should actually be good. So now if we grab all these things again, we can just move it so that it's actually centered up into our box. And we can actually shrink this down a little bit this way. That is good enough. Let's take a look at it in the world. Looks a lot better. So if we look at it now in the world, we see it has all the parts available to it. But if we click on it, has scope, yes or no. That's not going to change anything. Nothing is going to work on this just yet because we haven't set the functionality to it. So let's go to our event graph and start off with a custom event. Hello, right click, thank you. Custom event. Let's call this scope question mark. So that we know that what we're working with is the actual scope custom event. And once we do this, throw a branch node in and Click that in there. So we're asking, does it has a scope? Or I guess I should use have. Probably makes a little bit more grammatical sense. But I ain't care about grammatics. I are good at English. So, do we have a scope? If the answer is true, then we can go ahead and look at our, well, we're going to need a reference to our rail and our scope. And if the answer is yes, let's go ahead and start off with a set visibility. We're going to use a bunch of these. And Control C, Control V. So what's going to happen here is if we do have a scope, and I'll reposition everything here in just a moment, we're going to turn on visibility here and turn off visibility there. So if the answer is true, then we're going to turn off the rail and turn on the scope, visibility-wise. If the answer is going to be false, we can Control C and Control V and do the same thing. I always like to turn off the item before I turn on the item. So scope will go in here. Let's connect that in here. And rail would then go into here. So what we're doing now is if we don't have a scope, we're turning off visibility of the scope and turning on visibility of the rail. God, I have so many OCDs. Everything has to be neat and organized. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is go ahead and plug this into here and just type in scope. And that is our executable function of this right here. So if we look at this into the map now, the scope is not visible. Only the rail is. So now if we change this to has scope, hit play, come back over here, and look at it. We now have no rail, but we have a scope. Cool. Alright, so let's continue on with our functionality here. So that's our scope. Worked great. Let's create another custom event. Custom and silencer question mark. So we're going to do basically the same thing. So let's go ahead and get in our branch node, silencer, drop it right there on that. And because I have OCDs, I got to line everything up. Beautiful, isn't it? Let's actually move this down one. Yes, I'm using the guidelines here. So what we're going to do now is we only have a silencer to deal with, so let's go ahead and grab the silencer. And if the answer is true, we'll just do set visibility, Control C, Control V. With that, if it's true, then we're turning on visibility. If it's false, we're turning off visibility. Pretty simple there. Same thing for custom light. This should not be affected by multiplayer because it is a physical object in the world, and it should be visible to everybody that way. You can always test it, but assuming that it should be just fine. So light, connect that, line it up. We need these, Control C, Control V. And let's grab our light. Connect that, connect that, connect that before we get a frickin' error. Compile, save, Everything is good. Come up here and we'll do silencer. And we will do light. Now, whenever we place the item into the world, we can put a check mark here. We're going to have a scope. Let's actually turn off everything and hit play. Alright, so let's add some variability here. We're actually going to pick that up, and since we're trying to be pretty and put everything in racks and shelves and stuff, let's grab one of these, rotate it, and let's turn my snapping back to 10. It will bug me if I don't. Control C, Control V. No, Control C, Control V. Thank you. So we're going to grab. Alright, close up. Thank you. These two, Control C, Control V. 500. And why not? Let's throw in a third set. So now what we can do here is this one is plain right here. This one, let's add in a scope. This one, let's add in a silencer. Add in light. Let's add in a scope and a silencer. And let's put everything on this one. So as we look at them, you can tell that one's plain. That one has a scope on it. That one's just got a flashlight. That one's just got a silencer. Isn't that special? Alright, so that's the manual ones. And if I want to be cool, come back and move these here in just a minute. Let's look at our text. That's that one. That one and that one? Yes. Control C, Control V. Not that it's a big thing. Nope. You. Control C, Control V. Alright, so that's that. And now we can see that works. Save everything. Now let's do the same thing, but let's go ahead and make the automatic one or the random one. Let's see. Close combat swordsman and action RPG. I looked at doing that and was working with the action RPG and converting it to Cinti. Sorry, I didn't see that before. With actually I think I actually did do the dungeon pack. Close combat swordsman. Actually, I was doing this with a different one, and it was basically the same thing. It was a sword and shield combat. Was having some difficulty with some of the other conversions, and at the time I had 15 other projects going on, so I kind of dropped it. But if you guys want me to look at Close Combat Swordsman or the Action RPG with the Dungeon Pack, remind me and I can actually take a look at that. Alright, since we've got all this already made, we don't have to remake all this all over again. We can go to this and we can duplicate and just rename that to R for our random. Now, all we have to do is, we need a little bit different component here instead of that. And the way that I did it in this guy is in the branch, used a random bool. And what that's going to do is replace our has scope. And we'll drag off from here, random bool. It randomly picks the boolean, which is only going to be a yes or a no. Well, yeah, the dungeon pack wasn't free. Yeah, the action RPG I do have, and close combat swordsman, that was one of the free for the month, wasn't it? Action RPG inventory. Yeah, I've got that one. It's possible, but I thought Action RPG had a inventory system. It wasn't a visible inventory system, but it was you change from one weapon to the other or something like that. I'll have to double check. We do the same thing here. Get rid of has silencer and random bool. Same thing. So we're doing a random bool here. This should take care of everything. So these are going to be fine, and this should be fine here. Does that have a scope? Yeah, we're going to be good. So now if we take this one, and I'm just going to drop a couple of them here on the ground. Random. And then I'll put them in a shelf. Yeah, see, the one closest to us has the silencer, flashlight, and scope. The middle one there has the silencer and the flashlight only. The top one just has a flashlight only. So it's purely random. And if we hit play again, look down. First one has scope, silencer, flashlight. That one just has flashlight, and that one just has silencer. So yeah, you can see it's perfectly random every single solitary time. So we'll just delete those. And if I wanted to be, those are pistols. We got 3 racks of rifles there. Technically I could, or can I? No. Let's go back to text, and let's go ahead and grab a random. Yeah, most of the time I've actually been, I'm getting over this freaking cold that I've had, and I've got a client that I need to finish up with. I have everything pretty much in my head done, but I've had this freaking nasty head cold, and I think part of it is I need to just put a humidifier in my room near the bed, because I wake up and it feels like I've been kicked by a frickin' donkey. So let's take a look here. This one here, scope and silencer. This one has nothing. No scope, no silencer, no flashlight. This one's got scope and silencer. That one's just got scope only. Now, being that we put the box collision in here, in video 2 of what I'm going to be doing with this, and I'll show, like I was saying about the skeletal mesh version of these in this video. But in part 2, I'll actually do a full complete pickup. So as you're walking around, you decide that you're going to pick up this one. And you find it in the map. And right now these are just display items and that are not functional as a pickup yet, but it's easy enough to do. So if you were to walk over this one and pick it up, it will add it to your inventory, and you will then have that pistol with that flashlight on it just the way it sits. Or if you picked up this one right over here with the silencer only, and this can actually be modified also to where you can add it to a menu system and decide, okay, I want the player to be able to remove the silencer or the flashlight or the scope, or if I found a scope in the map, maybe I could add this to my pistol or add this to my rifle or whatever. Kind of where I'm going with this is converting the survival game kit over for another client to use the Cindy Studios assets and to be able to use the modular weapon systems like that, to where you have the correct models and pistol, for the pistol with the silencer and so forth. Maybe add a flashlight in. Adding the functionality of the flashlight is something also that you can control once it's on the player. And I will actually, it'll bug me if I don't do it, but I'm not gonna. I say that I'm not gonna, but no. Really, where the hell is it? Well, we know 8 is what we're looking for. It'll bug me. There we go. That I don't have the words written on it. So Control C, Control V. Now Control C, Control V. There. Now I'm happy and I can move on. So now we can see on the rack that this is random and these are manual selected. And the one thing we need to do is come back to our parts and uncheck these, compile and save and close. So now when we go into our map, we can check them out. We've got manually selected items where we pick what's going to be on them when we throw them into the map, and these are completely random. All right, so setting up the pistols, weapons. Can I show you right here? I was just starting to get into building this. I haven't finished it yet. But what I've done is I've added the parts in here on the pistol. It's got the scope, the silencer, and the flashlight. They're attached here, and they will be manually dictated by how they're found in the map. I'll get into that to the other video. So I haven't actually finished this, but if you look, the silencer is attached to a socket for that. So what we're going to do is go to the M4, and we're going to put in the sockets and get it to where it's functional as an item once it's attached to the player, when you actually have it on you. So the first thing I want to do here is go to Weapon Rigged, and these are actually going to be the skeletal meshes. Skeletal meshes, English, hard. We're working with the M4, which is this guy. So we look at the mesh itself, that's fine, but we actually want to go into the skeleton. Because you see it has no magazine, it has nothing on here, nothing on there. So we need to start manually building things into this. So the first thing we actually need to do is go to the rifle SWAT skeleton. So this is the actual skeleton we're going to work with. And let's slow this camera down again. 2 should be good. And we're going to start attaching things like we did before. So the first thing I want to do is select here, right click, and add socket. And then click off of everything, or just click onto the socket itself. Hit F2, and let's go ahead and do the rail. Okay, so I already know that I'm going to have to rotate it, but let's go ahead and right click on the rail and add a preview asset. We want these pink labeled ones, so we want the rail that is showing up in these, in that pink color. Right there. So let's go ahead and rotate it 90. And put it in position. Close enough for government work. All right, so this could be a mil-spec M4. All right, so that's good. And what I'm going to do is select it and hold down my left mouse button and hit delete so I can get rid of the preview asset. And then I'm going to click back on the rifle SWAT, right click, I'm going to add sockets. This one is going to be, and I'm just left clicking, or you can hit F2, scope. And again, let's add preview asset. And we want red dot. Rotate it back 90. And we just want to move it in place. Now this is the critical area. So once you put it on here and it's attached to your player, and your player has this weapon equipped, this is where it's going to matter. So now we got the scope is on. Now I'm going to move to the magazine next. It is not called a clip, it is called a magazine. Right click, add socket, and magazine. Add a preview asset. And we're going to have to sit here and go through all this to get it right. Rifle banded, SWAT mag. Rotate it back 90. And let's try to get this as close as possible. Because you know some jackass like me would be the one that would complain that it's not in the right position. Okay, so that's good. Let's go ahead and add in the light next. I'm going to save the silencer for the last part because I'm going to add in some other things too with it. So we're going to put this F2, we're going to call this our light, and that's going to be the name of our socket, is the light, or light. And preview asset, torch, you can put this wherever you want. You could attach it to the side, you could put it wherever. Yeah, I'm not worried about the bayonet lug there. But there, that'll be good enough. So that I want to add one more thing in here. And I'm going to actually click on the rifle again. I'm going to add one more socket. And I'm going to call this our light bulb. Now I'm going to do something right now because I know I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. And I want to position this right in front because later on when I'm building the functionality for the flashlight, I want to have a socket to attach for the light um, coming out of it completely. So let's go ahead and add in the next thing, which is going to be a muzzle attachment. This is where the muzzle flash will spawn from. When you're firing your weapon, the flash will come from the muzzle flash or muzzle socket. So we can go ahead and create this, call this our muzzle. And again, I just know that it needs to be rotated 90 degrees. All right. After we attach the muzzle, we're going to go ahead and attach the silencer and then attach another muzzle point. Because nothing bugs me more than looking at a weapon in a game and the muzzle flash, when you equip the silencer or suppressor to it, is still coming out from here, even though your silencer is not there. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. So let's add one more socket in here. As client. It used to be that it automatically defaulted to where you could start typing in a name. Silencer. And yes, you can call it a silencer or a suppressor. Because it does not actually silence, but still. Especially, God, if you've ever fired an M4 or an AR-based weapon with a suppressor on it, and we decided that we were going to have a short-barreled rifle. And see there, our muzzle ends there, so we're going to need our light needs to come back. Now our light bulb needs to come back. Now we're going to bring our silencer back. We decided we wanted this to be like a short-barreled M4 when we have the scope on there, just because. So if you look at the muzzle now, it's pretty close. In fact, on this particular situation, you could probably get away with just bring it out to here and not have to create a second one. What I did on the pistol was, because the silencer and the end of the barrel is in two different locations, I put in two different muzzle, muzzle and muzzle underscore SD for suppressed location, so that you could then choose where you want the muzzle flash or the emitter for the particle effect for the muzzle flash to come from when you're shooting. So in this case, we're just going to move that one forward, and that's going to be good enough. So I could put the vertical foregrip, which is available in this, but I'm not gonna. So that's created the actual sockets for what we need. So we go in here to create the actual weapon blueprint, and I'm just going to cover the basic portion of creating this blueprint. So let's go to the blueprint and actor. We're going to call this our M4 underscore BP, so we know that this is the actual blueprint for the weapon itself, and it's in the weapons folder, so we know what we're working with here. So I'm going to go to weapons rigged. We're going to go back to our bandit. Let's go ahead and save all real quick. So we've selected our skeletal mesh here, and then we'll go back into our blueprint. The reason why I do that is because now whenever I go in here and attach the skeletal mesh, it's already got the model attached. I don't have to come over here and look for it. So we're going to put in rifle, and we already have it attached, so I'm going to hit compost and save, and start adding in our accessories. So let's start with the, we're going to need to do the rail, the scope, the silencer, the flashlight. So let's just go ahead and go down the line here with the rail. Add component, skeletal mesh, and we're using the skeletal meshes, not the static meshes. And we'll just call this our rail. Now, to get it in the correct location, you come over here to parent socket, Click here and select rail. I'm going to go back to rifle. Compile, save, scope, skeletal mesh, add component. We'll call this our scope. Now if we want to choose between the scope and the red dot, we could just put in whatever into this. We can change the models later. So now that we've already done that, we can actually click here, and we know that this is going to go to the scope location. Click back on the rifle, compile, save, next item, silencer, add a component, silencer. The socket or parent socket is going to be which one? Silencer. Compost, save, or click on rifle, compost, save. And now we just need our torch or flashlight. Add component, light, socket, light. Now, we can click back on our rifle here and add another component. And let's type in light, only spotlight. Okay. Click socket, light bulb, and look, it's projecting in the right direction. Let's change the outer cone. And attenuation radius is fine for now. Intensity 25,000, whatever. So we would normally have this set to visible of none, but since we've attached the light, we can actually see it there, and it goes right on that socket, so that we have a location for that. We're not worried about it, that everything is visible right now. It's not going to matter. We can uncheck this, but let's actually go ahead and throw it into the map just for shiites and grins. So we'll just take it and weapon M4. You can see light's working. So let's hit play. Let's pick it up some more. Now you can see you even got a shadow on there because of the barrel. So you could change the position of that if you wanted to, but as you're looking down your rifle, you can see you actually have a flashlight. So when you pick it up and you activate the flashlight, it'll be there. So that's cool. Save all. So we actually go into oh, we forgot something very important here. Rifle. Really important item for a rifle to have. Something to hold ammunition. Add component. With our magazine. Parent socket. Magazine. It's now in the right place. Compose, save. Let's actually move this up. No, I don't want to attach it to there. I'm going to attach it to there, but I was trying to move it up, but it's not really that big of a deal. And now let's throw it in the map, just so we can look at it one more time. So now we actually have the magazine on. So if you decide you're going to do complex magazine loads later down the line, having the magazine socket there, you can also do like a main hand, off hand for your holding your weapon. And then whenever you go for the reload animation, you can actually then delete the magazine essentially, or turn its visibility off, and then add the magazine to the player's hand or whatever you want. You know, you can do complex magazine change animations and montages and so forth, but that's just going to get you going. So, spotlight is visible. Everything is good to go. So that's the basics of creating your... Let's go ahead and get this out of the map so we don't have a flying weapon. That's going to cover everything for the basics of the pickup itself. So that you can actually select, like these are the manual pistols, where you can manually select, okay, what options you want on there. Do you want the silencer, the scope, or the light? Or if you want it to automatically, basically, whenever you throw it into the map, it just randomly picks something. It randomly picks the items on there. So, again, same thing with the rifle. You can do this with all the different weapons for your pickups. When you actually go to your pickup items, there's going to be more involved in doing this. And essentially, what you're going to do is you've got your box collision here. So if you right click on your box collision, add event, on component, begin overlap, this is where you would actually start doing your, okay, my character just ran over this. You'd want to put in a, don't really charge much for consulting. It all depends on the project. If I'm actually just consulting or if I'm actually jumping in and actually fixing something in your project, or if I'm actually writing, the blueprints out for you for it. So just get with me on Discord. You can send me a DM after the stream, and yeah, we can chat about it there. But yeah, I don't charge much. My only income that I have, now I've got house money is totally different from Unreal Engine 4, and projects and hobbies and so forth is all its own separate fund. So I don't include anything that goes towards the household and what I do here, and I don't include anything here with what I do for the household. So I completely have everything separated, and the only income that I have for anything, if I want to go out to a movie, or if I want to get some more goo for my resin 3D printer, or filament for the FDM printer, or if I want to buy a couple boxes of frickin' ammo and go to the range, or if I want to buy another asset pack or something like that, it all comes from tips, donations. Hey, I'll give you, $40 here, $50 there, whatever for doing consultations, diagnostics, just whatever, just based on how much you can afford. And I'm not trying to make a killing off of anybody. If you're not building games because you love it, get out now. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Just send me a DM. I'm in and out of this room quite a bit. Now, if I'm 3D printing, I'm not in the room because I got a new resin 3D printer and it stinks like hell. So I'm not in here, and it's bad for breathing too. Until I get the print station finished and the curing station finished, I've kind of suspended my 3D printing a little bit. But for now, I'm just gonna thank you, bud. I really appreciate that. Now we're just gonna make the items disappear. I'll do another video that will actually cover the rest of the pickup system. I'm using player_base. This is with my simple multiplayer Steam template. I use it on everything. It just works, you know. So when our player crosses over and intersects with this box collision, we're just going to make this whole thing disappear. So one of the things that you should do is, like I said, this is for the Glock pistol. If I just come in here now, if I intersect with it, make them all disappear. All the manual ones, that is. I didn't do this for a random yet. I just made them all disappear. What you should also be doing is setting up in your character. let's see, let's add another variable in here. Has grok. Compile, save. And we're going to leave this as unchecked. We don't have to do anything. We just have the variable in here. So now if we come in here, before we do our destroy actor, let's move it out of the way for now. We need to come from our player base, has grok, and let's actually put in a branch node, connect that in. Do we have our grok 17? No. If we don't have one, then we're going to do that. And then let's just delete that. Okay. We need to ask that question. Do we actually have it? If the answer is yes, we're going to do nothing. But if the answer is no, we are going to, we need to grab from here. Set has grok to true. Connect that to false. And then we can destroy actor. This is all part of what I usually do here also, is once you've set that to true, a lot of times what I usually do is I attach the pistol permanently to the actual player. And what I want to do, since I have two different pistols in this asset pack, is, and if I bring in some of the other assets, I might have 5 or 6 pistols. What I want to do is create a location for the player to hold the pistol and attach a pistol, quote unquote, to the actual position. And what will happen is whenever I say yes, and now I have the Glock or the grok 9mm, because you don't want to use copyrighted names, right? So if I grab the grok 9mm off the ground, it goes directly to my holster. So first off, I want it to go there. But if I draw my pistol, I want it to come out of my holster, be in my hand. But what if I also have the 1911, but not as my active weapon? If I pick up the 1911 and put that as my active weapon, it needs to be able to change the pistol over. And each of the individual pistols needs to be able to have the accessories on them that you put on them or found it with. So that's all complicated and down the line. We'll get to that. And these guns don't even work yet. We're just working on the pickup items. So basically what we're doing here is whenever I intersect with the pistol, only the player, if we have bots in our map, it wouldn't affect it at least. So if we don't have one, then we set our player to true that we have one now, and then we delete it from the map. If we already have one, nothing happens. So if I come over here and let's take this guy. It's removed from the map and it'll never come back. Oh no, it's gone forevers. Now, but what if you wanted it to respawn? Because that, some people say, well, I want the weapon to respawn. If that's what you want, then it's simple enough to go back into your pickup. We were doing the manual. Yep. So before you destroy your actor, you could just tell, you're going to have to basically deactivate your box collision. You're going to have to make sure that none of this stuff has any collisions whatsoever, so that they just don't exist in the map. And then at that point, essentially, you're going to have to do, let's see, I'm just going to throw this off of a custom event. It won't work because I'm not going to plug it into anything. Respawn. And we could put this into our variable system and have it selectable. When we throw it into the map, do we want it to respawn or not? And by default, we can say no, we don't want it to respawn. So in this, we're going to have to get this, deactivate, because we don't want this box to still be, because anytime we walk into that box, we're going to get another one if we don't have one. Even if it doesn't show up and somebody else walks over the invisible spot where that one used to be, it would still give them a free pistol because we didn't deactivate that box. We would then have to go in here and get a reference to U, and U. And we need to set visibility so we can turn it off. Leave this unchecked, by the way. And we need to plug all these guys into that same target. So now the box is just deactivated. We've turned off the visibility of the pistol itself, and then delay. And because I don't want it to just be a fixed delay system, I want us to be able to set that. Respawn delay. And let's call this an integer. Compile, save, default it to 5 seconds. Compile and save. This is a float. This is an integer. We want whole numbers only. So we just plug it in like that. It automatically gives us our conversion. So after this, we are essentially going to, I'm going to go ahead and copy these. Get our box again. And activate. Can't remember if I need to run it at reset or not, but so at that point, after our respawn, and we need to expose that. Come on, save. Okay, even though we don't have this functional yet, if we look at this, there's our respawn delay. We can change this to whatever we want. And that will be the respawn delay. So we can set that manually on each one of them, but we have a default setting for it so that we can choose to go about that way. We now have it as a custom event. So at this point, before we destroy actor, we have to move it again. A branch. Let's go ahead and throw in another one. Can respawn. And I'm going to change that to a Boolean. And I got to have a question mark. I don't know why, but I got to have a question mark there. So if it can respawn, then we need to change this to here. And then from here, true, we want to respawn. If not, we just want to destroy it. So in theory, that should work. So if I come over here, and I can't pick up any more of them because I already have one. And let's go ahead and let's just throw one here on the ground. Can respawn. We need to expose. So can respawn. See, we left it in default. Let's actually create a new category for this. Call this respawn. And now we can put that in respawn also. By having them in categories that way, now when we look at it, we have it selected on the map. We can see respawn, respawn delay, and cam respawn, parts, silencer, scope, light. So we have a label for all these, and we can minimize that if we want to or whatever. We're going to leave it as no. So let's walk over here. We got it, and it despawned. It's gone. It'll never come back. So now if we go back over here and select it again, can it respawn? Set play. Pick it up. Wait 5 seconds. There it is. It came back. But I already have one, so I can't pick it up anymore. And there was much rejoicing. So that will come back in a couple seconds. There it is. And you can, like I said, just by setting it up that way, you can set the respawn to 1 second, 100 seconds, 120 seconds. So there you go. I hope you guys found this as awesome and freaking amazing as I did. Actually, we're going to pick this one up off the ground. So now, that won't respawn because I didn't tell it to respawn. So now we have that option that do we want it to respawn or not? And let's go in here, clean up some of our mess. And let's go ahead and right click on test map, create folder, rifles, and grab all them. Put them in a rifles folder. Look how neat and clean and organized that is. But if I want to select all these guys, and I want all of them on the map at one time to be able to respawn and have a respawn of 25 seconds, I can do it that way. But since we did not do this for the other one, we don't have this event system set up in here. This is only for this one. Well, can you just copy and paste? In theory, yes, but let's actually just grab the top because these are going to be different. So let's Control C. Let's go to our random. And let's find a clear space. Control C. Control V, rather. We'll do custom respawn. So we'll just take the basics of this right here and what do we do? We put that into the begin overlap. This we can copy all of that. Connect that into there, that into there. So this would then be cam respawn, true respawn. And if it's false, we just want to destroy actor. And we need to move that down a little bit. So this one, we need to deactivate you. And we need to activate you. And our set visibility, we need our rifle. Damn it, I thought it was in the pistol. But yeah, anyway, you get the point. Rail, scope, silencer, and the light. I'll have to go back through and do this for for each one. I'm going to copy that now. Go ahead and plug it in. This is for the random M4. I'll have to do this for the random Grok and the manual M4. And we need to make our respawn delay. But you get the point. This is where it becomes tedious of just copying in the stuff. And respawn delay. Let's actually do nope, let's keep it the same as the rest of them. Respawn delay and not another macro. Get in here. Can respawn. Change this to an integer. Expose it. Compile, save, default 5. Yes, I know. We're working on it. Give me time. Respawn delay. Plug you in there. I'm sorry, we can't plug you into there. Get and then plug you directly in there. All right. So if you just copy this in, you can see this can respawn does not exist, even though we got it right there. If you wanted to, instead of manually creating it here, you could just right click on this and create variable. And it would have saved a little bit of time, but that's all we're doing. Because that variable was the one from the other blueprint. It's turning off visibility, it's deactivating, turning on visibility, yep. Alright, I'll just finish doing this for the rest of them. And the next video, what I'll end up doing, let's go in here, let's grab a Glock, and grab a manual rifle. Nothing happens, because we haven't finished that one. We need a random. That was random. Yes, random M4 because we need to fix that. Go to our player, and we'll add new categories for these later. Has M4 compost and save. Close that out. Has M4, plug that in here, and we don't need you. And set has M4, and we'll go ahead and plug that back in here. To true. Yep, that's fine. That's fine. So you should take a look at it in the map. Can respawn is no. And let's turn this, well, yeah, we'll do this one as yes. Is my collision box too small, maybe? Yeah, it's just too small. So this one should not respawn. So that's good. The one next to it. Let's go out of our way to make sure we get it correctly. That one will respawn, but when it respawns, it will be different. It could be, you know, just like that. But I've already got one, so I can't pick up anymore. So that's where you would actually then, once you set that variable to true, that's when you can actually also call in custom events for spawning in the M4. And using that data that we've saved, I will come up with a nice clean way of. Oh no, we already have a Glock we can't pick up anymore. I'll set up another way of for the next video to where once we're there, what can happen is it will remember that this Glock that I'm picking up only has a silencer in it. And I come over here and I want an M4. Let's see, I want this one because it's got a flashlight and a scope. Have to fix the box or whatever. So it'll remember what those items are that were on it, and now whenever I equip it, the rifle or the pistol or whatever, it will remember that it has a scope, a flashlight, and a silencer on it. Whenever I'm setting it up to actually fire, in another video I will show actually how when I'm shooting it, if I have the silencer on, it's going to make one sound. If I have no silencer on it, it's going to make a different sound. You're going to have different sounds whenever you're firing it in real life. And no, it doesn't sound like a mouse fart like you hear in the movies. But it'll sound different between with or without the suppressor on it or the silencer on it. So those are all things we're going to worry about down the road. Start building in functionality for the actual equipped item. So that once you have it equipped on your player, it will actually shoot and have ammunition count or magazine count. You could put in other variables like here, like the magazine holds 30 rounds. So you put down I will come up with full systems for all that, but we're going to do things one thing at a time and go from there. So this was just showing how to create these pickups with either manually selectable or randomly selectable items to them, and same thing with the rifles and pistols. But it'll work with shotguns, whatever kind of weapons you want to work with. The whole point is you can either set up manually selectable or randomly selectable items that spawn on the weapon attachments. Whether or not they respawn or not. Like that one is set not to respawn, but this one is set to respawn. So if I'd picked up this one instead, it would respawn, and somebody else would be able to come back and pick it up. Say like, okay, you find a gun shop and it's open, and you go over and you buy that when it disappears, whatever. Or you just, I like the idea of it not respawning, but by doing it this way, you have the capability of selecting does it respawn or not. You click right there and have the control over it. Whereas same thing with the manually selectable weapons or attachments, you pick what you want to be on it when you drop it into the map. I mean, seriously, it's just as simple as, okay, I want a manually selectable Glock 9mm that has a silencer and a scope but no flashlight, and I want to respawn, and I want it to take 15 seconds to respawn. And it's just that easy now. So in 15 seconds, that gun will respawn. Gives me time to take a sip out of my coffee. And there it is. Because I already have one, I can't pick it up. I don't want it to respawn though, so I uncheck that, and I'll change this to 1. It's not going to matter because I don't want it to respawn. and it'll never come back because it's destroyed. Alright, boys and girls, let's make sure we save this. I will come back and I'll finish the other two off this way. And if you think about it, I still have the shotgun, the AK-47, the HK-PDW, and the sniper rifle, Arctic Warfare Magnum, whatever you want to call it. We could say that it's a 308, and you can use this silencer, and this scope we could actually change to be usable on M4 if we wanted to, but this is the part your eye looks through. This is the far end. So, yeah, we do all that with the sniper rifle. So it has its own attachments. Silencer, the different muzzle attachment points, so that whenever you fire it, it has the correct muzzle flash location. Magazine, scope, all the doodads that go on it. A lot of work to actually get back done on that one. For a project that's primarily just was to showcase to you guys how to do all this stuff. But I can get all this functional and then start working on the ammunition part, or the shooting part, or the animations, or the montages, or whatever, and just have different things. So for you guys that are trying to use the Cinti Studios assets, and you've got the, whether it's this pack or any of the other shooter packs, or like I said, if you want to do the sword and shield kind of stuff, you guys tell me what kind of games you want to see, and we'll start laying down the foundation parts like this. Because if you've got a sword, you're not going to have other attachments to a sword, although I will say that you can add one attachment to it if you have it. Maybe put blood. So if you've been in combat and you've stabbed and killed people, then it could have blood on there. And you could add a clean feature, clean it off, and now just took the visibility of that material off there, or change the material, or however. All done through blueprints for fixing and doing all that. So that's my little gun show. Alright guys, catch me on Discord, and if you want to see anything else tonight, let me know. But I wanted to do something that's going to be functional for people and usable for people. And the Monday night video, which is tonight. Wednesday night, again, you guys got to tell me if there's anything you want to see in particular. If I don't have any requests, then I'm probably do something that I want to do towards this project or my main project, or what have you. Or I might just do gaming. Or I might do it about 3D printing. I don't know. We'll make it up as I go along. But if you guys got requests, then let me know, and I'll try to weed through it and see what I can come up with. The main part, and I'm going to do another short stream later. You don't have to watch it right now, but whether I do it in the morning or tonight or whatever, I might even just record the video and just upload it later. But the primary focus of what I want to do on my channel is, yes, I want to show you guys how to do this, and this is cool, I like doing that. But the biggest thing that I want to teach to you guys is not how to do everything, is to teach you how to get over yourself enough for you to be able to troubleshoot and fix the problems yourself. To help you get over that hump of, oh, I can't figure out why this won't work. And start giving you the tools that you need to be able to figure out how to fix the problem that you're working on. I hope that makes sense too. I'll cover that in another video. I'm going to get out of here and take a break for a little bit. I may work on this some more. I may not work on this some more. I may forget what the hell I did on this and never come back to it ever again. I don't know. I'm old. I do dumb shit. But I love you guys, and not just when it's cold. Let's make a save all, and we will see you soon. Get with me on Discord.